Hey folks, well, a quick 7 months later, and I'm finally getting a chance to do something with these fantastic little 10mm EDFs that were courtesy of Nitrocharge. Designed and printed these things. If you didn't see the first video, I'll put a link for it down below. One of the mistakes that I made in that video was replacing the 4x8mm motors that he sourced for these with the bigger 4x12, because in my propeller brain, bigger motor means more power, more better. But EDFs need RPMs, and these were just some generic 4x12s that I got off eBay. They're probably rated at like maybe 20,000 RPM, whereas these motors that Nitrocharge sourced for them are rated at something insane, like I think 70,000 RPM at 3 volts. So yeah, I'll be swapping these 4x12s back to the 4x8s. But I spent some time in CorelDRAW trying to design some things, and I made this little guy just to get my head around, how everything is going to fit and size-wise. I didn't plan on trying to fly it, but seeing as everything is already in there, I figure it wouldn't be hurt to try. I'm going to be using this is a 30 milliamp hour battery that I pulled out of a fake pair of AirPods, and it's the smallest 30 milliamp I've ever seen. It's, yeah, nice and small. The electronics, this is the receiver from the KF606 RC plane. They're getting hard to find, and people really seem to like them, so the prices have skyrocketed. But it's a excellent little receiver, 2-channel thrust differential steering, so in order to steer, one motor speeds up and one slows down, and that causes it to yaw in one direction or the other. It does have a gyro built in, which can be good and bad, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I figured it wouldn't be, should probably re-glue that before we do it, but I figured it wouldn't hurt to at least try to see what happens if, at least throw this thing in the air, so let's see what happens. Well, it's not a nothing. Maybe a harder throw. Oh, okay, no. Oh, no. Oh. Oh boy, it's unhappy. What happened? Now, no incidence angle. That probably has something to do with it. Can I bend some in? A little up thrust without breaking everything? Oh, that feels wrong. Oh, that's bad. Yeah. All right. All right, well, as expected. Oh, nice. Lawn dart. Okay, well, there you go. Okay, well, that was kind of what I was expecting. The F-22 seemed like a really ideal candidate because even for as small as this is, it's got a lot of wing area, but it's also very short coupled, so it's really hard to get everything sorted out so it flies properly. Plus, thrust angle and yeah. But after spending more time in CorelDRAW, yeah, this was going to be because I didn't want to do just a simple profile version like this. I wanted it to have the full fuselage, and that was going to require a lot more wood, and more wood means more weight, and that's going to be kind of the enemy for something like this, because not a whole lot of thrust out of these things, but it should be enough with a simple enough design. If you're familiar with Ramy RC, he does these enormous, beautiful mega models. I never would have thought an airliner would be a cool model, but after seeing his, I thought it was pretty amazing. So might try this. The only problem is this is a lot of area, which means drag. And again, that's not going to be a good thing for our limited thrust here. So maybe not. Plus only 5.5 square inches of wing area, which isn't a whole lot. This thing weighs, as it sits, let's see here, with the battery, 4.4 grams. Excuse me. So yeah, I usually shoot for a 1 gram per 1 square inch of wing area for a baseline for a wing loading. Obviously less weight per square inch is better. So technically this should be fine, assuming that comes in around the same weight, but again, drag is going to be a problem, and it may not seem like it, but a lot of fuselage makes for a lot of drag. As for a single motor and rudder model, I'm going to go with this little 4-inch Squall. Somebody already actually made one with their own homemade brushless motor. I'll try to find the video for it and post a link for it because it's a pretty amazing build. But this seems like an ideal candidate because nice direct intake and output for the motor and everything. A lot of wing area, still really small, but 7 square inches of wing area, so that should be a pretty good candidate for the single motor version. But as for the twin, yeah, the A-10 seems like a perfect candidate. Not as much fuselage area, still at least 5 square inches of wing area, and the motors are in very short pods, so not a whole lot of losses there. So this is probably going to be the model we're going to build today. And if this doesn't end up flying, we will go ahead and build the Squall. And if that doesn't work, we'll probably try the Boeing 777. This was a simple glider that I had whipped up, but yeah, we'll see. And someday, I want my micro F-16 because this has always been my favorite jet. My dad used to work for General Dynamics way back in the day, so I've always been very partial to it. But the problem with the F-16 is this, for as still fairly big as this thing is, it only has 3.4 square inches of wing area roughly. So in order to get enough wing area, it's going to have to get bigger and bigger. But eventually, I've got this 20 millimeter fan that was also courtesy of Nitrocharge, and this one's running on a 0603, I believe it is, brushless motor. I've had it in a couple different models that didn't fly too well, but that was due to my poor building and design. But I'll try to post a link of some at least high-speed passes because this thing on 2-cell really does rip. And yeah, should be a good candidate for the F-16 because, I don't know, I love that thing. But yeah, enough rambling. We are gonna start building the A-10. Excuse me. If you saw the de Havilland Comet video, it's gonna be the same process. If you haven't seen it, cut the things out and where did my balsa go? Trace it onto here. Instead of having a big block and then having to cut it in half, I'm gonna just use 2 different sides like that. You'll see. Yeah, you'll see what happens. We'll just get on with it. But yeah, now we will trace this onto here. One down. Does not look good, but that's okay because there's a lot of shaping and sanding to come. And fortunately, with micro models, when they're in the air, it's really, really hard to see, which means it's really hard to see all the mistakes. So, you know, it's the little wins. But yeah, gonna do that with this one, and then we'll go from there. And I'm making this little notch here because this is where the wing is going to be sitting. And this is basically what I did with the Comet as well. Instead of just slapping the wing to the bottom of it, make a bit of a notch, and then the wing can sit flush with the fuselage. It just looks a little nicer. And because it's hard to, you know, cut straight down, it's really easy to get the blade at an angle where you end up with the wood like this instead of straight up and down. I'm going to use the face that I drew it on to be the sides that, oh, I can't do that because I didn't flip the piece of wood over. Well, I was going to say, put the two sides together and that way they'll be even. You can sand all the other imperfections out, but looks like we won't be doing that this time. And that has a giant divot in it. So I'll have to use this side, but something like that. Doesn't look like much now, but sanding goes a long ways. And then slap this on top. Boy, that's going to be a lot of carving. I probably could have found some thinner wood, but well, hindsight, 2020, something like that. Yeah. But first, we have to attach or glue these two together. I got a bunch of really good suggestions in the Comet video about easier ways to breaking this apart using tape or whatever. But I did what, ooh, that was going to be too much glue again. Just a little dabble do ya. Jimmy Buffett was apparently a micro RC plane builder. Something like that. And we just stick these two together as close as possible. But yeah, you could put a piece of tape on both sides and then glue the two, and then when you pull it apart, you can just pull the tape off as opposed to trying to, you know, break it apart the way I normally do it, which would make much more sense than the way I just did it. But I do have a tendency to do things the hard way because, you know, why do things the easy way when you can make it harder on yourself? Where's the fun in that? No, I'm not a masochist. I just play one on TV. Let's see here. So yeah, this just gets traced on here. Line up the center line where the two are glued together to the center line of the cutout. Something like that. I really wish I could find my other pens. Like that. And now, actually do it on both sides. It's still glued together. You definitely don't want them coming apart once you're starting to carve things. Yeah, carving. And this is about as straightforward as it seems. I like to get close to the edge at it like this, and then just work up to the line as opposed to trying to do it all at once. This blade already feels dull. Wow, that's... Okay, hang on. All right, there we go. The next step is to, instead of trying to, use an X-Acto blade, I'm gonna get some sandpaper and I just round all the edges so that it looks rounded like a fuselage would, also to fix all the mistakes that I made with the X-Acto blade. Like the fact that is, how did I get that so off? Anyway, but yeah, I don't want to make a huge balsa dust storm in here, so I'm gonna sand this outside. But what I usually do, just so I get an idea of how round should be, I'll just make a rough line, something like that. And then I will sand a radius up to that line, because the top of the fuselage is kind of flat, but then it rolls off and then it's kind of flat on the side, and it's just an easier way to get things a little more symmetrical when you're sanding it. So yeah, I'll just sand a bevel into all the edges, and then once that's done, we can snap this thing apart down that part line. Actually, I got to make sure I get my the little flat spot where the wing is going to sit. That looks pretty straight still. Get that in there before I go too far, but yeah, I'm going to go sand this outside, so I will be right back. All right, there we go. It could obviously be much better, but as I usually say, good enough. And the reason I always say that is because if I'm not careful, I can very quickly, very easily become a perfectionist, and I would be out there with my sandpaper until there was nothing left. And I've found that being a perfectionist really takes the fun out of things, and the end result usually isn't worth all the frustration anyway. So, it may not look like much now, but once the wings and the pods are on, it'll no doubt look like an A-10. So I may actually, oh, here I go. I may work on the canopy a little bit more, especially right here, just because there's a bit of a divot that I need to sand out. But yeah, for now, that looks like a fuselage to me. I forgot to make my cutout for the wing, as usual. But now, oh boy. Yep, I should have done what everybody suggested I do, and I knew that I should have and didn't anyway, because, again, why make life easy when you can make it hard? That's what she... so we're just going to try to split this down the middle. See, now, if I had done what everybody said I should do, I could just pull these two apart without any problem, but... Oh, there we go. And so now, because usually I end up smushing the wood like I did right there, trying to pull them apart, but oh, hey, still looks like a fuselage. And now the fun part. You draw a little line around the perimeter. And this is the line that you're gonna cut up to, because you leave all this inner part will get all hollowed out, and so there will just be this lip around the perimeter on both sides, and that's what's gonna glue the two together. There. Now there's a number of ways to do this. Where did the thing go? You can use little carving tools like this. I have a smaller one somewhere, but again, the amount of time it'll take for me to find it in this mess. But this just hollows it out like that. That's one way to do it. You can use a Dremel. The way I have always done it, though, is just make a bunch of lines, making sure you don't go too far. bunch of lines that way, and then a bunch of lines this way, and a bunch of lines this way. And then you can use the use the knife too. But then you just pick it out. And as you might imagine while looking at this, that this is a rather time-consuming process, but that's just the way it goes. And don't want to do the whole thing at once. I work up to it because it is very easy to go too far. And I tell you, it's really hard to put the wood back in. So take your time, work up to it. But yeah, just like that until I try to get as thin as I can just to save as much weight as possible, especially with this wood that's a little more dense than I would like. But the only good thing about a more dense wood is it has a little more strength, which can be beneficial because that means you can actually carve this thinner and still have the strength you need. That's the other good thing about a full fuselage like this, is it just in its design of itself, it already has a pretty good amount of strength for the amount of weight that this thing is going to be carrying around. So you can go pretty thin without having to worry about something, you know, breaking or whatever, but there is still a limit. But yeah, this is going to be a very long video if I don't end this here, so I'm going to finish this off camera. Whew, glad that's over with. My finger is very happy that that's done. But they're both hollowed out, and I got a little crazy. This is where that perfectionism thing comes into play, because I hold it up to the light as I'm trying to carve it out, and it's like, oh, I can get a little thinner right there, except, you know, there is a limit. Fortunately, there is a fix for that, so you won't see it when it's all done. Wow, that's a bad one. Yeah, let's just see what this thing weighs. .18, that's pretty good. 0.22, that's pretty good. And yeah, 0.41 for the fuselage, that is more than good enough. I still want to go further, but I'm going to stop myself before there's nothing left but just a bigger pile of sawdust. One of these days I really should try a different technique, because I'm sure it'd work better, but I don't like change. The fun part though is I get to do it all over again now with the pods. Although I first have to decide whether or not I'm going to shave the intake lips off, which I really don't want to do, but it will make the pods smaller. I'll have to think about that. In the meantime, I'll let my poor finger heal after holding that X-Acto knife for all that time. But yeah, we'll do the pods, and then we can cut the wings and tail and stuff out, and then actually start putting this thing together. All right, I'm gonna fix these holes and other, we'll call them blemishes, before I go any further and glue this thing together. And I'm gonna be using this stuff, been using it for a long time. It is nice and light, sands good, and doesn't take much. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, one thing I didn't take into consideration is whether that's actually going to fit in there. Wow, that could actually be a really big problem. Wow, I did How did I not think about that? 15 millimeters? Oh, that's not good. This used to be where the switch was, but I took it off to save weight. And now I'm wondering if I can maybe just cut that off entirely. Just that whole little square, because that's only 10. I'll have to get my magnifier out, make sure there isn't any other traces connected around that area, but that's going to have to go one way or the other, otherwise it is not going to fit in there. The battery should fit no problem. Yeah, okay. All right, well, the next thing I'm going to do, though, is, because if you look at the picture of an A-10, this is not what the engine pods look like. They've got a much more finessed design than just this. But in order to do that, the intake and outlet were much, much smaller, and I didn't want any restrictions, so I just kind of faked it. But if it's taller, it would look a little more realistic, because this does look kind of small and narrow, although the difference is like a millimeter. Okay, we're not going to cut the intake lip, or the intake lip off. We're just going to go with it and just make it just a little bigger, because yeah. Now I got to find some wood, though. Actually, this looks just about right. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, there you go. Let me clean up a little bit. Okay, so this is going to be the exact same process as I did with the fuselage. This is going to go on there, get traced out, cut out, split down the middle, hollow out the insides, put the motors in there, glue them back together, and there's your motor pod. So I'll save you everything that you've already seen, and we'll do the Kevin Talbot. Boom. Crap. All right, well, do it the hard way, I guess. All right, got these pretty close enough, kind of thing. I originally thought I was going to put the fans like inside the ducts, but then I thought, where's my line? This side. If I just put them right on the outside edge, like so, then I can actually make use of that intake lip. Boy, I got pretty thin on the walls on this. These are going to be kind of tricky to glue back together. Man, words are hard today. But come on. Well, anyway, as you can see, it's vaguely duct shaped. But yeah, let's see what these things weigh. These two, 0.12 grams, 0.10. So those with the fuselage, .68 grams. I might actually be really close to 1 gram for the fuselage, because all that's left is the wing and the tail. So 1 gram for the fuselage, then everything would be fantastic, because then it's just the weight of the motors and whatnot. But yeah, I suppose now try to glue these together without making a mess of things. Well, I kind of already made a mess of things. I tried using this gouging tool, since I could like go straight across, and that actually worked pretty well. But got to be pretty careful when you're getting down to the bottom there, because I got a little thin there in some places, but thin means light, so I guess that's all right. Hey, I rhymed. I really don't know how I'm going to do this. And I used some sandpaper to try to smooth this out because I was going to use this as a template to make a thrust tube coming off the back of the housing to the end, but that would just be extra weight, and I don't really think it's necessary. And if all else fails, I can probably slip one in there later. So I don't know how I'm gonna glue that. Oh. Well, you get the point here. These two get glued together. Shoot. Well, I guess the other option is to make them again, same way I did it the first time, except just take a little more care. I will say they do fit nice, and I kind of like that it'll be right on the outside, so you'll be able to see the fan. And because that diameter is the same all the way through, it's kind of like having a thrust tube, but not quite. I think that'll be all right. All right, well, take two. Get out of there. All right, so I made a new set, and they turned out much nicer. And I had put them on this little handle just to support it as I sanded stuff down. And I don't remember which one it was, but when I pulled it off, I squished it, and it broke all the way down in like 3 different places. So I had to re-glue it, and plenty strong now, because I probably shouldn't do that. Plenty strong, lots of glue, which is unfortunate because now they're quite heavy. So the old ones together, 0.27 grams for the old ones, and these new ones, 0.42 grams. Now keep in mind, this entire fuselage weighs 0.45. So I'm not going to make another set, and I think these are just too heavy, because you also got to remember these are going to be way in the back with the fan, so there's a center of gravity to keep in mind, because it's only the receiver and the battery in the nose. So even though these do not look good, I'm probably going to go with these just because they're so much lighter. I don't know, maybe when I mount them, like I can mount this so this is pointed towards the fuselage and you won't see it, sort of thing. But to suffice it to say, I was not super pleased when, yeah, I squished it. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but I tried using the thin glue just to, and yeah, it is shockingly heavy. They're pretty strong now, but they don't need to be strong, they need to be light. So, and it's a real bummer too, because yeah, these turned out a lot better. I mean, clearly not perfect, but still much better. So, that was fun. Looks like it's, wow. There, they kind of look the same. Oh, I gotta stop doing that. Okay, I'm gonna put these down before I make another mistake, and cut the wings out and the tail, and I think we can start putting this thing together. So now, let's see. Oh, I have to figure out what to do about the receiver being too tall. It looks like I should be able to cut it right across there. And that should give me enough room. It's like 8 millimeters. That is going to be a tight fit. All right. I hope I have enough solder. My trusty old Weller here. I don't know if you can see my awesome wiring diagram. Yeah, I'm sure that won't come back to haunt me later. That the center of gravity ends up in a way that that receiver can stay exactly where it's at. Look at that. Nice. I need to figure out how long of wire I need. I'm gonna need to know where those wires come out of. Probably could have done this before I put everything in there, but there it is. I left some areas unglued because super glue is really hard to sand, and I want to sand that little lip off and around the nose and right there and right there and right there. All right, wing slot. I still have to, yeah, cut the slot for the mount, motor mount, whatever you want to call it. I'll just try to sand these edges off real quick. I just realized I did not mark which was positive and which was negative. So that kind of sucks, but that won't be too hard to fix. And now, yeah, I'm gonna try to cut the slot for the support. And the wing is completely flat. I think I want the motors flat too, as far as like thrust angle goes. Because if they're pointed down, that'll push the tail down, which would push the nose up. So if anything, a little negative angle more than positive, because that would push the nose down. All right, let's cut this thing out. Okay, we're gonna figure out the height of this slot that has to be cut first. Hopefully this works the way I think it should. Yeah, there we go. That would have given me some serious thrust angle. All right, I'm gonna measure that a few more times because that needs to be as straight as possible. Otherwise, well, I guess these end up sitting at an angle, so I can fix it that way, but it just needs to be parallel with the wing. Let's see if I did that right. Other than not making the slot big enough. Okay, that's not gonna fit either. Well, I think that actually worked. I can't wait to read the comments and people being like, why didn't you just do it like this or do it like that? And then my response is, I don't know, I wish I would have thought of that. All right, now cut a little slot for the tail. And I want like just a degree of down angle on the tail. Get a little bit of an incidence angle. And on my drawing, I've got the slot like almost halfway in the middle of this fuselage, but looking at pictures, it's almost right on the bottom, which would make this a lot easier. All right, so yeah, in pictures, it is almost right, slapped right on the bottom. Not quite, but so I'm basically gonna just do what I did here and just make a little cutout. Looks pretty good. It actually got just a little degree or two of down angle on it, so that should be just about perfect. I do have to score down the edge here with the razor and kick it up at a bit of an angle, because on the plane it's not sticking out straight, they just come up a little bit. I guess technically I wouldn't have to do that, but it'd probably look better. Yeah. I also have to score a line and put the dihedral in the wing. All right, so after looking at this after a good night's sleep, I definitely should have put the tail up even just a few millimeters higher. Probably same with the pod mounts, but well, there ain't no fixing that now, but it's still pretty close. And for now, going to add the little cut line so I can put the dihedral in the wings. It's one of the nice things about the A-10 as a model, or a plane for a model, because the dihedral is built right into it. All right, here's the part that I've really been dreading, and that's mounting the motor pods, because, yeah. What I'm gonna do though is, because these are sitting up above it a little bit, I'm gonna have to put a slight bevel on this edge. So we'll just sand that in. On the real plane, the pods mount just about in the middle of the pod, but if I were to do that on this, they'd be sitting way too low because I put this mount way too low. But so we're gonna have to cheat that just a little bit, like everything else on this plane. Good Lord, my hands are shaky today. Makes doing finicky little things like this a lot harder. That should be close. And I'm going to mount them vertical like this as opposed to like this. And that's just so I can hide that giant gaping wound. And that'll go on this side so it's less visible. But I have to now figure out the best way to make a straight line on this not so straight piece of wood. Figure out where it actually has to go first, I guess. I'm going to use just a little dab of regular glue to hold the pod in place, and then I'm going to use the thin CA to run down the whole length of it, because that'll absorb into a lot of the rest of the wood, which will strengthen it, because I'm afraid one light crash and these things are going to break or get ripped off or something, so it's a little extra strength. Well, that one got turned a little that way, but I don't want to try to break it off because it'll probably break the pod rather than the glue joint. But they're on there, and they look. Oh man. Oh no, that's not going anywhere. Well, hopefully that doesn't affect the thrust line or anything, but it looks like an A-10, doesn't it? I mean, it's not gray and it's missing the little machine gun and the little landing gear pods in the front, but pretty close. All right, so now got to poke a little hole in the bottom of the pod to run the wires through. I might glue those down just to hold them in place. But now, well, I can't do that yet because I want to leave some extra length in the wire so soldering is a little easier, and then I can pull the excess slack out and stuff it back in the fuselage. Oh. I was gonna label which one was left and which was right because these are counter-rotating, so one is gonna have to be on the other. So I could potentially put the wrong one on the wrong side and wire it backwards. So I may be soldering this a number of times. I'm actually gonna have to cut the hatch open at this point because I have to plug the thing in order to make sure I've got it wired right. Well, it's a little off, but seems to be the reoccurring theme in this project. I'm taking close enough to whole new levels here, even by my standards. Those are spinning in the right direction. And I should already have left and right set up. Yep. Okay, I think we're good. Oh my gosh, we might be almost done with this thing. Whew. There. Now just a little drop of glue to hold the motors in place. Little drop of glue this time. Wow, it's actually done. Sort of, kind of. All right, here's the really scary part. I already weighed it, but you never know. Could magically just gain 5 pounds or 5 grams. Almost 4.5, 4.65. That's actually kind of amazing. Wing loading should be good. It looks like my thrust angles and incidence angles on the wings and everything are good. I guess the one thing I haven't really checked yet is the center of gravity. We can do that right now, though. That'll be something like that. Oh, wow. It's actually like, oh my God, that's actually going to work. I'll have to put the battery back a little further, but wow, that's actually going to work. I was really afraid that it was going to be so far off that the only way to fix it would be to like add weight, and really didn't want to do that. Something like that. Yeah, that's actually going to work. Oh, thank God. Now the actual fun part, though, adding some color and detail to this thing. All right, for coloring, I've got these alcohol ink markers, and this should be a pretty good color. I did a couple test pieces. Looks great. It adds almost absolutely no weight whatsoever, which is a good thing. So, and yeah, we're just gonna color this thing. Uh-oh. It's not applying where the super glue was. Oh, shoot. Shoot. That could be a problem. Dang it. Well, I mean, that's kind of better, but not really. Wow, that looks terrible. And I can't touch the other areas because it gets darker. Oh, man. They can get away with calling it camouflage. Okay, so this plane ended up with a lot of mistakes. This vertical stabilizer isn't straight. This pod has a little bit of a down thrust, which hopefully doesn't come back to bite me. Better down than up at least, because that'll help push the nose up a little bit, but it also might make it roll, so we'll see what happens there. Yeah, a lot of little mistakes in this model, but I think the thing that bothers me the most is the way that the coloring came out. If I'd known it was going to look like this, I would have just left it bare balsa. On the plus side, I ended up using the silver Sharpie. It added basically no weight whatsoever, so that's good, because spray paint is, like super glue, shockingly heavy for what it is. I tried adding the little gun. I still have to color it, but at least it's there now. Didn't add the pods for where the landing gear goes, because I can't really add any more weight. But man, if this thing doesn't fly, this will probably be the biggest flop I've ever made. I guess it'll look good hanging on the wall, because if you hold it at arm's length, you almost can't tell how bad it looks, the paint. And while it's in the air, you won't be able to see it, but it didn't bother doing the bottom. That'll at least add a little contrast while it's in the air. But it's actually looking like a pretty nice day out there today, so actually get a chance to go give this thing a flight. And the canopy actually fits and isn't held up by the receiver or anything. So I think we're good to go. Actually, let's weigh this thing. Man, I hope this thing flies. I'm a little worried that it won't, because it's still kind of heavy for what the thrust of these fans put out, but 4.82 with the battery, and 4.13 without, so that's not too bad. Like I said, it has about 5 square inches of wing area, so it's getting close to that limit, but it's either going to be really fast or it's going to go into the ground really fast, one of the two, so we'll see what happens. Oh, whoops. Come on. Center of gravity was still a little too nose forward, but I can't cram that thing back there any further. And now the receiver doesn't want to go back any further. Why won't that go back? There we go. Oh no. Oh. Alright, I'm gonna have to glue that in place so it stops moving.
Wait, you have a YouTube channel?
Mm-hmm.
What is it called?
It's called Micro Builder, because I build microplanes.
I don't know why I've never heard of you on YouTube.
That's because my channel is still very small.
Very small.
Yeah.
How many subscribers do you have?
12,500 or something like that.
Cousin Jackson only has like 30. Have you ever made like shorts?
No.
No. Oh, it fell straight away.
Yeah.
Why?
I'm not sure. If there's too much weight in the nose, it'll make it do that. So we're going to try to push the battery back.
There's too much weight.
Oh!
You threw it right at the ground.
Well,
Remember when Dominic got it? What's that?
I don't think it has quite enough power. Pretty close though. Shoot. It's so close. Whoops. Well, oh boy. This is probably one of my bigger fails. Not just stepping on it because I wasn't watching where I was going, but just in general. I haven't actually built anything in probably at least a year, and that old phrase of, you know, you don't use it, you lose it is definitely real, because yeah, this one was kind of brutal, and it looked like it was so close to actually flying. There was that one launch where it actually kind of went for a little while, and I swear if I could have gotten the center of gravity back just a little bit more, it may have actually had some hang time. I wouldn't have cared if it only made just one lap. That would have been good enough for me, but well, you know, that's the way it goes sometimes, and I hope you at least enjoyed watching the slow motion disaster. Try to figure out what to build next now, because I mean, this was so close. It's something that it's going to have to be something that's a little bit lighter, probably a little more simple, but one way or another, I want these little fans to work. So, and it felt powerful in my hand. It seemed like it had just barely enough power. It was so close. But yeah, you know, what can you do except try to build a new one? So stay tuned, I guess. Thanks for watching.